Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another Last Epoch dev stream. Pew, 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 pew. As always, I'm your host, Mike. How's it going, everybody? Oh, hello. Welcome to the stream. If this is your first time here, glad to have you with us. As always, we stream for charity. Charity's above my head. I am one of the senior developers for 11th Hour Games, working on Last Epoch here. And we're going to play some Last Epoch, have some fun. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat about the game. Other stuff too, if you really want. Put at Last Epoch game in the question, please, and I'll mention that again later as well, just so I see it pop up in my face better. Oh yeah, we were struggling here, weren't we? What's a little fun? Happy Friday the 13th. Oh my god, it is Friday the 13th! I hurt my back pretty severely this morning, and the only reason I'm able to stand right now is because of some sweet Robex. Avoid taking that stuff like as much as I can, but sometimes give me that cast speed. I've been struggling a little bit with so as I've been playing more and more Rune Master, because we played a lot leading up to the patch and everything. That's all we played, but like this build in particular is the first time I really experienced this, where I'm really trying to get a and this is something that we're looking at addressing. I'm really trying to get that that cold fire meteor swarm, or whatever it's called. I don't know the names of the actual abilities. I call it meteor swarm. Ability as like my main damaging invocation. That's like the one I want to get. But I find sometimes that I don't necessarily want it, so I don't want to lock it in all of the time. But I do know sometimes that I'm gonna try and get one. And I start with the cold, and then I try and get up to 2 fire. But sometimes I accidentally hit a 3rd fire ability. Like I hit Flame Ward, that's a fire ability, or I go to dash and I lose that leading cold rune. And I find myself popping off a fireball, and it's not the end of the world, you know, and you go about your day and it's fine. But I'd love for there to be a way to like once you get to 3, just like stay at 3, or like I mean I know there's ways to like force specific stuff as well, but like I don't know, I don't want to always force it is the problem for me right now. So I've seen some suggestions to help remedy things like that recently. So I'm hoping we're gonna get that in. 'Cause I literally just did it. Oh. Here we go. I got a question. Love them questions. When the Discord rework was happening, I talked with Kane about the Acid Devs channel and why you guys opted out of making it forum-based as well. He told me, whatever Kane told you, trumps whatever I'm going to tell you. Oh, let's turn those notifications off. 2 hours. Okay. Just work stuff, you know. No big deal. Oh! Oh, I felt that chuckle in my back. That was good. Alright. Let's let the Robex kick in. Come on. Here we go. He told me it was because you guys wanted to keep it more conversational as such to me. As such, me and some others have had a few kind of long-winded conversations in there, like the one about tags for Holy Order and stuff. Was just wondering if it was fine or if we should refrain. If you're gonna start to have a conversation, especially when there's pending, like with each other, especially when there's pending questions in the channel, please take that conversation somewhere else. Just because I can be really, because I can't keep an eye on the channel 24/7. I try my best to keep up to date with it as much as possible, but sometimes it's like 2 a.m. and I'm like, I'll do it in the morning, and then I show up in the morning and there's like a bunch of buried questions in a conversation, and it's a little tough for me to catch up with that, and questions get lost, and I find that frustrating. So if possible, I would appreciate conversations happening in another channel, just so that I can not lose track of other questions. But if no one's messaging you with like a direct warning, it's not that big of a deal. Alright, next question. I would love to have a way to keep it always on 2 runes and never 3rd added for specific abilities. Yeah, that's yes. I agree with that too. I think that's another use case that's not quite well supported yet. And it's actually interesting, in the development of the Rune Master, we toyed with the idea of you starting, when you unlock Runic Invocation, you just have 2 runes available. And we may actually go to this at some point. And once you, either some node or some, probably not an item, probably a node that you have to take in order to get up to 3 invocation runes. Also, in other news, I fixed my printer 2 days ago. Yeah, 3D printer. And so I can finally print stuff again. I'm very excited. I'm going to play Magic tonight, and I've got a new deck that uses the Monarch mechanic. Ooh, that was a mistake. And so I printed a crown to go take and put on my head. It like just finished like seconds before the stream went live, so I can't go get it yet. A little bit of spaghetti on that print. It's the filament's fault, not the printer. Will there be a roll/dodge mechanic added? This is something that gets brought up quite frequently. It's something that we've experimented with in the past. It's not something we are going to include at 1.0. I can say that for certain. Depending on how the development of the game goes, it's not off the table for longer term stuff for us to do and explore. I think it can be a lot of fun. And I think the really big upside for it in my world is that it opens up a lot of things you can do in boss fight mechanics. Because you can guarantee that players have this reactive resource, this reactive fast move, limited resource that you can like, oh, if you don't use it wisely, you're going to be in trouble, or if you don't use it wisely, you need to have some other tool to deal with this as well. And I think it just creates some cool stuff you can do with it that makes the mechanics of the fight more engaging overall. So yeah, there's upsides there. Downsides, it's you give that level of mobility to every class, and it takes away a little bit of the identity of each class. So like the one class that it makes a lot of sense for, like the most sense for, is Rogue, and Rogue has Shift, which is a very similar ability. It kind of eats into that identity I think Rogue has as this as that type of character. Now then we looked into doing all this stuff, and it may or may not come back still, but definitely not for 1.0, I can tell you that. the like we looked at having skill trees for it as like basically a dedicated skill in your bar with like a mini skill tree that goes with it, or we looked at having like one central skill tree for the whole skill. It's like everyone has dodge roll, and dodge roll has a skill tree, but then there's like nodes on dodge roll that are unique to rogue, or there's like rogue items or like rogue specific items that can interact with dodge roll that give it new special abilities and things like that. And so we've definitely gone down this rabbit hole pretty hard, and there's a lot of pluses to it. There's a lot of interesting stuff that can come out of it. It's just, and we even implemented it and tried it a little bit. It just doesn't quite fit with what we want to do, and so it's not something we're putting in right now. I don't want to close the door on it, but I wouldn't expect it. But I will say it's a good thing to make a post about on the forums in the suggestions section if you want it, maybe, or go find an existing post, send some there, and upvote them. All right, I'm hearing a particular Crash Bandicoot sound when playing Rune Master. Am I hearing things, or is it possible the same sound pack from 1997 was used? I would be shocked if there was a similar sound pack that was used because the sounds are all custom made. I mean, maybe there's like an instrument or something that's similar. I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it's just like coincidentally really close, and you have a strong connection to the game, so you hear it and it triggers memories for you, which is very cool. Health and damage. Yeah, that's not upside. Well, I right clicked, so we're going. Any news on adding more servers? I mean, we are. I think the. I don't nothing. I don't have anything official. I'm sorry. I don't know. I know it's still a goal to have better coverage. I can at least say that, but I don't have any details to share right now. I'm sorry. So I know usually the like better server question or like better coverage question for servers comes with it the implication of specific servers that you want to know about, and I definitely don't know that. Ooh, juicy. Oh, what's that? Where else? Cool. Okay, where was I? Sorry, I run the server thing. I know there are active like ongoing conversations about like so many aspects of our servers, and it is a very high priority for us. So if it's not up to what you're hoping for right now, we're very likely working on the specific aspect of it, but we're definitely working on the overall aspect of it, and we'll continue to work on it because it's an extremely important part of the entire game experience. More questions. I feel like Audrey 3. Questions. Questions. Is the reason that none of the rogue skills that have the movement tag also have the traversal tag because it would make them share a cooldown? Basically, it's the there's sort of a judgment call we make on the significance of the movement granted by the ability to determine if it is a traversal skill or not. So something that just has like a slight hop associated with it, like the Riven ability, Dancing Strikes. I really hope it's not marked traversal. It shouldn't be marked traversal. I don't think it is. Mostly just because it doesn't go far enough. It's not like it's not in the same. Love that line. There's like, think of it like buckets of movement quality, and it's in a different bucket than teleport. Is both getting right? No, just that one. Okay. Physical. How's our armor and physical resistance? Poo-poo garbage. I mean, do we have any forging potential to work with right now? 5, 10. Can we do anything? Just health. Give me health. Elemental damage over time. We like do. It's not. Is that okay? Is this considered a dot? No, it is not a dot. What am I doing? Let's roll this. Let's chaos this. Okay. I will not turn my nose up at that. 0 fortune. What am I doing? Okay, not a ton of boost there, but you know, just a little bump here and there. I still don't think the physical. We need more. Yeah, let's do crit chance. Perfect. I think we need more phys res. That's what I think we need. When add Apiarist class? There's no plans to add one at the moment. I mean, the Primalist has a lot there, right? I don't actually really know what that means. I'm assuming it means bees. Is that what someone who tends to bees are called? Apiarists? I'm really just going off the fact that certain city builders have apiaries, which are that generate honey. So that could be horribly wrong. Why do some enemies out-heal the main character sometimes in ARPGs? What is it supposed to teach the player besides run away or give up? I know I can get more damage, but that is not interesting to me. It's a DPS check that randomly pops up. Otherwise, you're fine. I mean, we try to put different types of defenses on different enemies, so that we can, because like certain builds will certain abilities, certain tactics will shine and falter against different types of defenses in general. And so we try to mix things up so that you either you're like trying different tactics, or you're like having a more versatile build, you know, to complete different challenges. And so I think it just comes down to that, really. It may have just been something that didn't work well with the builds you're playing. Maybe some other builds would have been fine with that, but have had a tougher time with other things. I'm not sure exactly. But it's a similar line of like giving it leech, or giving it the ability to, like, I don't know, pick up health potions and use them. Like, it's just a different way of having a different defensive layer. Are there any cosmetics in the 1.0? There are. If you're asking if there's new cosmetics coming to at 1.0, I believe there are. Yes, I've seen a couple. That looks sweet. Also, if you have a question for me, please put it with @Last Epoch Game in the question, and I will see it more likely. I do the first time chat bubbles do pop out enough, and they're usually questions, so I grab those too sometimes. Will there be more introduction to party-wide buffs or debuffs to use, such as Cursebot Lich or Orbot Pally? Possible another class for the party play. Yeah, we put we put things like that in like crit vulnerability in Rogue already has that. So yeah, there's things like that we pepper around, and I do know that there are more of those coming. I think there's actually I'll just leave it at there's more of those coming. Oh. If LE eventually comes to console, is there possibility for it to be cross-platform, or does that throw too many spanners in the works? Wrenches for all my North American friends. I don't know. I don't know yet. I think that crossplay is something that we would definitely look into, and would be a significant plus for us. If we can... my headset's just turned up too high. Let me know how the audio balances for you guys. If we can make it so that just everyone gets to play together, and there's not any major problems there, yes, we'll do that. Chances of there being at least some significant problems are almost inevitable. If those problems are going to be too big to allow us to do crossplay, I don't know. That remains to be seen. Just like a glass casket. Alright. If I get you, teleport goes the whole screen, while dash only goes like half the screen. No, sorry, I mean, like there's real movement abilities, and that are traversal abilities, and abilities that cause you to move a tiny bit that are not traversal abilities. Those are the two categories. Every ability that's primary function is to move you, like Flame Rush or Surge or Teleport, on the mage, and then like Shift and Shield Rush and Lunge and Fury Leap, and those are all traversal abilities because their like primary function is movement. And yeah, you can spec them to where the primary function is not movement, but like out of the gate default functionality, primary is movement. Usually those are the traversal skills, or the abilities that get granted a movement in that same category, at that same scale. Like I think when you add Descend to Smite, it gets traversal because it's basically the same as Teleport. It may or may not cast Teleport. Hey Mike, will we see some gameplay of Warlock or Falconer before 1.0, or can we eventually play with them before? I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen with that rollout. The CT program is still running, and like there'll be some early access to those classes through the CT program. At some point, I don't know when that'll be. It might be a while still. I would say likely after we've like done the major like class reveal posts on our forum, where we lay out like the main mechanics of the class and like some skill examples and things like that. I might do a very curated build, where like we pick one like abilities that are working particularly well, and maybe do a little preview that way. We'll see. Get me day 9 to stream a reveal with me. Don't actually go harass him, please. That was just don't. Yeah. He's busy enough. All right. I love how people refer to reroll an item. People prefer to reroll on items mods in other RPGs as chaos the item. Oh, refer as chaos. I see what you're saying. Yes. Yeah, it's not PoE chaos. It kind of is. I mean, you get coins like that. You get terms like that coined. It happens. It happens a lot in Magic. It happens a lot. Like where an ability will get an effect or an ability like template will get coined by a very specific card. To the point where they like actually just sometimes take the name of that card and like the effect that it gave and just turn it into a like static named ability. Don't have a good example, but I bet there's like vigilance or something like that is like that. Unofficially fire breathing. I should be looking with better examples than that. Doesn't matter. Alright. Are there plans to add plus damage tab to player stat screen, showing all the plus damage per type as is for increased damage? I don't know specifically what's going to be added to the character sheet. We've been sort of talking about this vague idea of a character sheet rework for like 3 years now. And we keep every time we start working on it, we keep adding things to the scope. Eventually that will happen. I think that would be a good addition to it. Well, there's some interesting gloves right there. Not too shabby. A little LP on there. When can we expect to shake up the Monolith Islands? 1.0, 1.1, 1.2? I don't know, but I think of those 3 guesses, your 1.2 guess is the best of the 3 of those guesses. It's just a weird way of saying give it a bit. Alright. Is the volatile zombie summons experimental affix functioning as intended? A lot of people believe it's a bug. I have no idea, because I don't know what it says. If you think it's a bug, please report it as a bug, and we'll figure it out. What does it say and what is it doing? I've had my head so buried in Falconer stuff lately. Let's go look for it. Experimental volatile zombie. Which one did you say? There's 2 of them. There's 2 of them. Is the volatile zombie summons experimental affix functioning properly? Oh, that was not experimental. Volatile zombie on potion use. I mean, it should summon that many zombies when you use a potion. They should count towards your zombie summons like normal. If you have some node that forces you to only 1 zombie, it should only summon 1 zombie. Like your tree should take effect and be included, so any restrictions in the tree should apply still. Those are the things I would assume are possibly going wrong with it. Alright, seeing as though you guys love passive trees so much, we do, that you give every skill one, have you guys ever thought about giving one to the Monolith of Fate? Yes, we definitely have. I think that sounds like a fantastic cycle mechanic to me, personally. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that this is something we've talked about and will be a cycle mechanic or anything like that. What I'm just saying is that personally I think it's a good idea for a cycle mechanic. The core functionality of the monolith isn't going to be dramatically changing for 1.0. You're going to see basically with what's there is what's there for 1.0. You know, make improvements on things and like make small quality fixes and changes and stuff like that. But it's core functionality is going to be 1.0. That's basically locked in. But after that, oh baby, do we got room for stuff. And yeah, I think that's the sort of thing that would be really cool to do in a cycle. When Warlock, when it's ready. I guess I can say 1.0 now. 1.0. The Warlock's looking sick right now though. That one's mostly ready. Like the core stuff is ready. Still got lots of bugs to fix. Thanks, Justin. Doing a great job. Ooh, +3 Raptor. Always fun. I really want to. Raptor's been on my short list for a while of abilities that I really want to take a deep dive into, because there's a lot of things we tried to do with it, and it just never quite found its place, I think. And I think some of the improvements and changes we've made to ailments and how those work, I think there's a lot of room in Raptor for some really nice updates. There's lots of things that have to happen first because it's still pretty good, but there's like I just remember working on Raptor a bunch, and there's a lot of nodes now that I'm like, I would change that. Oh. My back does not feel awesome. Probably hear me complain about it a few dozen more times. Rare enemies regen health. They won't live long enough to regenerate. When are we getting a giant form, like a 10-foot tall druid or something? There's I'd say it's pretty unlikely. I think if we were going to do a significant size change with a druid form, probably would have seen it with bear. There's a lot of stuff that like assumes the player character is a really specific size. And so that's why all the transforms are pretty similar in size, and all the player models technically have the same collider. You know, it's there's just a lot of stuff that's assumes the player is a specific size, and deviation from that can cause problems. That Meteor Storm's so good. To finish the job. Yeah, he tried to get out of there, but he couldn't run. Alright. Will trade be publicly tested before 1.0 launch? I saw some discussion on it potentially messing up the game release if it came with 1.0. I mean, that discussion wasn't being had by like people working on it, because not been saying that. I mean, there's always the chance any feature causes issues, you know. We are going to have people that do not work at EHG testing the trade system before it goes live. There won't be a public patch that enables the Bazaar pre 1.0 launch for just every single person who plays the game. That won't happen. The first time that just like you buy the game on Steam, you download it, you install it, you boot it up, okay, you can access the Bazaar. The first time that'll happen is 1.0. So yes and no somehow. Will you be adding more maps, secret areas, or dungeons later on? Yes to all of that. Hey Mike, do you think EHG will ever develop your own game engine for the longevity of improving Last Epoch or possible LE2? And do you see any pros and cons with having your own game engine developed for Last Epoch? I think that I think the chances of us developing our own engine are pretty small. I think the chances of us developing our own engine specifically for use on Last Epoch and converting it from Unity to that custom engine is way tinier. I would be absolutely shocked if we ever moved Last Epoch onto a new engine. I mean, who knows, right? Stuff could change. Generally, I could be wrong with this, but I feel the implication of this being asked because of recent stuff. It's called stuff happening at Unity, and I guess the only thing I can say to that is just hopefully in reinsurance is that none of it affects us in any way. All the stuff that's been happening, we're completely unaffected by it in any way. At least directly affected by it. I'm sure there's knock-on stuff and maybe down the line stuff, but right now it has had zero effect on us and will have zero effect on us going forward. The version of Unity we use is unaffected. Now, future games, I can't really comment too much on what engine we'd use in the future, but either picking a different engine that already exists or developing our own other engine for games in the future is not impossible. I'd say there's a much higher chance of that happening than ever using a different engine on Last Epoch specifically. So like hypothetically an LE2 in, I don't know, 10 years? Yeah, give me those keys. All that chest was stacked and it exalted.
I am not a man of many pockets.
Nope, but I am a man of many crafting material slots? I don't know. It's probably up. Anyways, yeah. So I hope that answered that whole question. I think it did. If not, please feel free to submit a follow-up question. It'll be answered in the order it was received. Oh, my back is hurting. I am struggling. Okay, back on old topic that we were just talking about. On enemies out regenerating the player, I meant more in other RPG games. I rarely find anything like it in LE, but I see it all over in RPG games, where at the moment it feels like there's nothing I could have done to beat the enemy besides run away or give her a comeback. My DPS is high enough, if at appropriate levels. Like you're saying, you see bosses out regenning you in other games and are happy we don't do that in Last Epoch? Is that what that said? I mean, we definitely do use regen as a defensive tool for enemies. It's usually not crazy powerful. sorry, I don't fully understand. Mike and chat, will you guys release a mobile version? I mean, I hate saying hard no to anything, but if a phone wants to run Last Epoch, that phone's got to get a lot more power in it before it's going to be running this game. I mean, I'd love to do a mobile version. We've no intention of doing a mobile version at all. I just the only part that intrigues me about it really is the I don't think that putting Last Epoch specifically as a mobile game is a good idea. I think mobile games should be developed as mobile games, and non-mobile games should be developed as non-mobile games. I know there are exceptions to this. But I think that there's like there's so many things that we do in Last Epoch as it is that wouldn't translate well to a mobile environment, I don't think. So I'm not really interested in taking Last Epoch and putting it on mobile devices. But I am really interested by the prospect of what you can do with a mobile ARPG. I think there's lots of cool things you can do that you can't do with a non-mobile one. I said that we have no plans to make any mobile games at all right now. Who knows? That could change. Hopefully we got a long time ahead of us here, but no LE mobile. You know what? Oh, I'm gonna put something up on screen to show you guys, and I'm gonna go get that cool thing I just mentioned and be right back. Hello, I'm back. How's it going? I think what I've learned is I'm gonna have to print this thing in 2 pieces and glue it together, because my print bed is not as big as my head. I think is what we've learned. Still pretty cool. I'm just so happy to have my printer back up and running again. Oh my goodness. I put a new extruder, new direct drive extruder on it. Oh, it fixed all the problems I was having. So I've got a ton of settings to work through. Oh, all right. Thank you for indulging me. And I'm back. Let's try and find out where I was in the chat. It started scrolling on me. I think this is close. I don't recognize it. Do you have any favorite skill from another ARPG that you'd like to bring to LE, or that have already, besides D2 stuff, obviously? You know me too well. nothing really particular comes to mind off of just immediate. I mean, so Grim Dawn does have some gun stuff that I think would be a lot of fun to bring in. That's where my thought went first. I know we don't have any gun stuff at all, and like we don't really have plans to add it, but maybe eventually, sort of thing. And this might be influenced by me working on Falconer right now as well, which is like the closest thing we have to, well, marksman as rogue in general is the closest thing we have to a class where that style would fit nicely. You said no D2, so can I do D3? There's a lot of monk abilities that I really like. The masters. Big fan of that. The multi-master build, whatever it's called. I'm sure there's a proper name for it that I'm just getting wrong. Oh, it's another one here I missed. The Emperor of Corpses fight is extremely broken. Oh no. Egats. When it comes to using a traversal skill, they break immediately, making them useless to escape his AoE. Do you know if this will be fixed in 1.0? I have no information on the status of potential upcoming bug fixes. I am sorry. What is one of the higher tier skills in Falconer? It's pretty awesome is what it is. When will the API become public? I don't know. I know we're in sort of a trial phase for it right now. I actually didn't know it was being worked on, and someone said that it was like out, and I was like, "What? That's awesome!" So right now it is limited to there's two websites we've given access to the API for now. This is not a permanent situation. We do plan to give everyone the same access to it, and it's the reason it's rolling out slowly is just so we have a chance to make sure things are working the way we expect them to. That there's no major problems with it. That it's not going to cost us an arm and a leg and some sort of extra fees that get incurred or something that we just didn't anticipate or I don't know, something. There's like a whole bunch of stuff we're testing out right now with regards to that API system, and once it's more well tested. By having other people use it and give us feedback on it, we'll look at rolling it out on a wider scale. I don't know when that's going to be. I'm sorry. Would you sit still for a second, please? Yeah, use that channeled ability. You know you like it. Yes.
I am not a man of many pockets.
Sounds so fed up with me on it. I swear to God, if you try and pick up one more thing, I'm gonna slap you. Dreamthorn, that's too big to fit in their pockets. How long will cycles last, and how many do you already have planned out? How long they last exactly will depend quite a bit on feedback we get from doing them. It'll depend quite a bit on like what else is happening in the ARPG space at that time. Like, is there another game that's going to come out with one of their leagues or seasons, and do we want to adjust things forward or back to avoid that type of thing? So like the time for each will fluctuate a little bit here and there depending. I think that they'll be roughly similar to what you expect from other games in the genre and what our patch cadence has generally been. So I think those numbers average out to roughly somewhere in the general range of 3-ish to 4-ish months-ish. Hopefully that was non-committal enough, because I don't know how long they're actually going to be. and that could change. Maybe we get a bunch of feedback that people are like, we desperately want them to be 6 months, or we desperately want tiny ones to be 2 months, or we desperately want like one big one and one small one alternating, or like there's all sorts of things that we can do to adjust that. And how many do we already have planned out? I know I've seen the plans for 3 of them. With I've seen the plans for 3 specific ones, and I've seen plans for many more that were not like, this is going to be 1.1 and this is going to be 1.2 type specific. But I'm sure the people like those higher level planning stuff happens. Oh my goodness, I died. Higher level planning stuff happens without me, as it should. So I'm sure there's even more stuff that I don't know about. That one was not meant to be, apparently. Straight increased health is not awesome for us right now. Yeah. 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 Glyph of Dominion is bugged. Versus Lagon fight. Oh no. Does not seem to damage Bosch. Please submit your bug reports on the forums or using the in-game tool. Report a bug right here. Do you have any funny coding stories where a bug was caused by something dumb, like misspelled or forgotten semicolon? I mean, these are the things you try and forget. Nothing comes to mind specifically, but yes, lots. The first time here's one, actually. When we started out working on homing abilities, like having stuff heat seek targets, I had accidentally put a negative somewhere that wasn't supposed to be. It may have been someone else. I think it was me. I think one of us had put a negative somewhere that wasn't supposed to be, and so it was actually doing the so you'd say like home in at power 4, and so it's like the homing has like a range that it works at, and the power that it works at that range, and it like scales based on how close it is, all that sort of stuff. But so it would, because there was a negative number there, it would, instead of like turning towards an enemy, it would turn away from the enemies. So we started setting up like obstacle courses where there'd be like a dummy here, a dummy here, a dummy here, a dummy here, and then you'd like you'd stand here. Woo, that's me. And you'd shoot a fireball this way. And you try and like find a way to like get it to go through the obstacle course without hitting anything, because it would repel from stuff. So you'd like shoot the fireball here, and it would like come out this way because it would go around that one, and it would come this way, go around that one. You'd like try and like get it to go through the course. I'm dying right now. I can feel it. Without hitting anything. Yeah. Pick it up. Yeah. Yeah, that's the coolest one I can think of. Will all skills have a skill tree in 1.0, specifically healing hands? I did see something about healing hands on a, like, if we got time, it was the first thing after Falconer and Warlock to go for 1.0 for skills. So that everything had a skill tree. So we definitely want to. I don't know if it's going to make it or not. I hope it does. I think it will. Any plans on allowing upgrade lower level item bases that have favorable implicits for our build so they can keep up with higher level bases? Generally, so we have no plans at this time to do that. Generally, this gets is talking about unique items. Usually is the question there, but not always. I think this is a cool if I was going to be in a design meeting about discussing doing something like this, I would probably pitch that it should be a reward for a dungeon. But quite often, so unique items in particular, frequently part of how we balance the item is the base that's chosen for it. Sometimes that base item is kind of intrinsic to how that item functions, or the thematics behind that item. So, like the unique items in particular, we take pretty large amount of care in picking the right base item for it. It's upgrading that base item can cause some confusing situations, I think, in certain cases. So I think we'd be hesitant to allow that. Upgrading the base on like an exalted item or something like that, that basically the base is it's randomly generated, is definitely less problematic there. And you also, it also doesn't break the convention of not being able to craft on unique items. Scepters. Any plans to improve on the engine? Yeah, we do it all the time. LE makes my PC run rather hot, even compared to something like Cyberpunk. Steam reviews also mention engine problems quite often. Yeah, I don't. I think that probably almost every single one of those reviews that mention it are kind of misunderstanding the problem, but have a valid concern. I don't think it's specifically the engine causing the majority of those problems. I'm happy rare monsters don't out-regen the player in LE, but wanted a dev perspective on other ARPGs. Oh, having out-regenning rare monsters for lower damage characters. I think it's fine. I think it's, for all the reasons I said that we use it in our game, I think it's fine. I think it's it's another way of just having that difficulty go up. And like if there was an enemy, like I guess try and flip it a little bit and see how it feels. Say that there's an enemy that has an attack that deals 1,000 damage. It doesn't matter how much defenses you have, doesn't matter anything. It always subtracts 1,000 damage from your health pool no matter what, 0 exceptions. And your character only has 500 health. You will die as soon as this thing engages with you and just takes away 1,000 health from you. You go to 0 and you die no matter what. Okay, yes, this is like an extreme contrived example and it's not very interesting, yada yada yada, but I think it's kind of the other half of the same coin, where it's like that's a defense check instead of a DPS check, but it's at some point the enemies have to get harder in order for you to feel a character advancement, yes, with relative to the rest of the world that your character is existing in. So I don't think it's unreasonable to have situations where sort of minimum damage numbers are needed to progress, and whether that's done through and like you can do that a lot of different ways. You can do that with like an enrage timer. It's the same thing, really. It's just a little more obvious because it comes to a head very quickly. But yeah, I think it's the same thing as an enrage timer, really.
Yes.
Like when you get down to it. I'm not saying you should intentionally put people in situations where they have no hope of being successful. But I think if a player maybe like skips ahead to a point where their character's not ready for whatever the challenge they're being presented with is, I think it's fine if that like reason that it's too difficult is because regen is too high. I think that's a fine reason for it to be too difficult. Mostly because that is something you can train your character to overcome. Like, oh, my fireball's not strong enough to defeat this enemy. Okay, let me go get a better fireball. That's the character. It's a very, very, very simple version of the character story arc of overcoming this challenge. Oh, is an ascended master ball. I don't know what that means, but I love it.
Safe travels.
I'll take it.
Safe travels.
I've always thought Wario had good taste in underwear. For everyone who is possibly confused by what I just said, here's an upside down master ball. Alright, what is the... that is one odd-looking falcon. Oh my god, we're that far behind still? Oh, ah! Thank you, someone. Oh, that hurt. Okay. Oh, Mac just seized up there a little bit. All right, thank you, Caleb, very much. Oh, you get to Quinn 69. Ah, that's great. Awesome. Thank you very much. Welcome, Quinn.
Greetings.
I have a feeling he's probably not actually here, but that's okay. Okay, random aside here, and I hope there's enough people here that are as big a nerds as I am. Actually, let me strike that. Who are way bigger nerds than I am in the best possible way, that can help me answer this question. There was an episode of Loki that came out recently, and I'm no major spoilers here, but there's a character called Brad Wolf, and I'm wondering if that's a reference to Doctor Who or not with Bad Wolf. Or if the timing of this character is just like this character came out 80 years ago, Mike, in a comic, and you're just wrong, or if it's just a coincidence. So if anyone knows, I'm very interested to know if Brad Wolf is a Bad Wolf reference or not. I haven't even watched that whole episode. I saw the very few seconds of it, and or maybe a minute of it or something, and saw that. I was like, ah. I'm very early on my Doctor Who journey as well. All right. What is the life cycle of the Last Epoch? Are you planning to finish the game and move on to other projects? No. Or is it a long project with lots of updates like PoE? Thank you. Absolutely a long project with lots of updates for many years. The line I always say is, if I'm doing this in 10 years, I will be ecstatic. And every time I say it, the timer restarts. Gotta stop making myself laugh. How do we know it's not Mike's clone now? Because my back hurts. My clone's back would not hurt this much. Please, no guns, no guns. We're not planning on guns right now. Is something spawning? Did I ruin this? There's some enemy somewhere. And it's right here. And I are dum-dum. And it's okay. Oh, gotta get out of there. Give me that extra regen I just got, that mana regen. See that come in handy. Alright, another question while I run around the outside. I wish Lagon sounded less mocking and goofy when trying to be menacing and more eldritch, mysteriously scary. Like, oh no. I don't know that name, but I feel like I should. Like Harmaus Mora from Elder Scrolls. Yeah, I should definitely know what that is. I felt more intimidated by him before I met him, as he seemed uncaring to his people, yet super powerful. He sounds like a condescending man-child with, "Is that the best you can do?" It hurts no less with the 10th time he says it. I'd really like to see context-specific... I don't know if... there's no question here. It's just a comment. Cool. I agree with your desire. I personally really hope that there is some context-specific lines that we add in. That's one thing I really want, is a context-specific voice line system for bosses and enemies too. But most importantly for bosses, like oh, it just got crit, and it says a line when it gets crit, or it does a hit to you that's like particularly damaging, and you like almost die, and you was like, I almost had you there, or something like that. And having context specific lines for like specific triggers that can like only happen once in the fight. So like sometimes maybe they don't happen if that trigger never happens, or maybe they can happen like only once every like 3 minutes in the fight. So like if it goes on long enough, you can hear it a second time. But like I think that I think there's a lot of room for some cool stuff to happen there. It's a little outside the 1.0 scope though, unfortunately. Are you planning paid seasons like D4 or free ones like PoE without a season? Or without a season? So we're doing our own thing. We're calling them cycles. They will most similarly resemble Path of Exile's seasons or leagues. Sorry. PoE leagues will be the closest thing to Last Epoch cycles. They won't be exactly the same. PoE is incredibly good at cranking out cohesive content with a storyline and tons of amazing artwork and all this stuff. So the scale of a PoE league will definitely be greater, especially initially, than the ones we can deliver on probably. But that's all the sort of stuff that we're gonna like. We're taking a lot of steps now that will have very positive cascading effects as we go on. And get us in a situation where we'll be able to deliver very frequent, really awesome updates. That'll be a little bit juicier than what we can do initially, at least. Also, on top of that, there's a lot of things that are coming in early cycles that are kind of more, I guess, core to the game itself than sometimes you see in leagues. Like, for example, the item factions, or the Falconer, the Warlock. These things are not really... they're kind of different to what you'd see in most leagues or seasons. And, like, they're systems that we plan to... that we always plan to have be part of the core game going forward, and not be something that you conditionally interact with. So the first few are more ubiquitous content, at least, and then we'll start to branch out into, I guess, more self-contained experiences. It's not a bad way to put it. Yeah. And another thing I want to mention about this is that all the stuff we're going to do with how we're releasing cycles and how we're going to be delivering on that content, it's very much subject to change based on feedback, as is basically everything else we do. We really try and listen to what's going on and how we can improve based on that feedback. Our favorite feedback comes in the form of, when X happens, I feel Y. Just in case anyone's wondering. No reason. Oh. Does Last Epoch use any type of smart loot system? Can you explain the loot philosophy being Last Epoch? Yes, there are technically. So, I would say extremely light smart loot systems are used. For example, helmet, chest, and relic. The random drop items for that, be it normal, magic, rare, exalted items for those categories, all are class specific. So when a like a normal helmet drops, it's something like a 99% or 98% chance. I don't know what the actual number is. It's an extremely high chance that it's going to be an item that your class can use. So if you're looking for normal, magic, rare, or exalted helmet, chest, or relic pieces, it's for a specific class, you'll find way more of them on that class. That's the extent of the smart loot. That's it. The smart loot does not affect. It's not even smart loot. It's just not dumb loot. It doesn't affect what uniques drop. It doesn't affect what shards drop. It doesn't affect like the skills you're playing doesn't affect it. Yeah, like nothing else. It's real limited in what actually is changed based on some factor, and it's just your base class, and it's really just so that it's just so that most items that drop are equipable by your character that you're playing. That's all it is, because it's very few and far between items that are not equipable by your character, and it's usually just because there are class-specific affixes or a class-specific base for those 3 slots, or some unique items as well. Now, a unique item being on a class-specific base does not affect its drop chance relative to which class you're playing. So a mage-specific helmet, unique helmet, a mage-specific unique helmet will have the same chance to drop on a rogue as a mage. The only items that are affected by this not dumb loot are normal, magic, and rare and exalted helmet, chest, and relics. So not uniques, not sets, not experimental, not personal. What other item types do we have? Legendaries, but they can't drop. Can you explain the loot philosophy being Last Epoch? So I guess the loot philosophy in general is we kind of want to give you as many options as possible, and let you decide what you most want to see. And that's mostly coming from a standpoint of wanting to we really want to give you the opportunity to succeed in your goals. That's the easy way to put it. And we don't want to tell you. We want to put as few. How do I say this? We don't want to tell you what your goals should be. So like, I don't know how to say this properly. We like giving you obvious options that work well together, that that sets you up for success. So that there's like, if you really don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, you can still do really well by just combining things together that you think like seem like they should go together because they seem similar, right? So like, what's an example? Flame Reave has fireball nodes. Oh my goodness, where are they? Oh, I haven't spec Flame Reave in a long time. Yes, it was hiding with the icon for the skill I was talking about. Oh, good one, Mike. Okay, so like Fireball and Flame Reave are like very similar theming abilities, so we put things to synergize with them together, type thing. And so like we do these types of things that are a little more on the obvious side, but we also want to give players the ability to experiment and tinker with stuff that kind of doesn't seem like it should really work, but does somehow. So to help facilitate that, we prefer to give to put less restrictions, put less influence on the loot that's dropping, because there might be some weird build that you've got your eyes set on, your heart set on, and it only works with like some non-standard gear. Maybe you're like, oh, I really need to have this like attunement dexterity gear, and because attunement and dexterity generally don't go together, like maybe we if we were doing heavy smart loot stuff, attunement and dexterity generally don't go together. So we make like some sort of rule in the item generation system. It's like, well, if dexterity rolls on the item, we don't roll attunement on the item. We don't do that because we don't want there to be this sort of like damper on finding items for unconventional builds. So this does, and then in order to drop a significant and frequent amount of items that are interesting and exciting and possible upgrades and all that sort of stuff, we have to drop a lot of gear because we don't look at how the player is building their character right now in order to determine what we think they might want in order to improve those odds. Which is why there's a built-in loot filter in the game. I know a lot of you knew I was going there, but oh, I should have picked a longer question to answer. Oh, I was looking at the other screen and tried to dodge it out of the corner of my eye, and I got it. Dang it. Ah, grumble, grumble, grumble. Grumble, 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 grumble. Hey Mike, is the plan to update to set items something that'll arrive with 1.0 or afterwards? So I just want to be super clear, because the way I've recently... Oh, Andrew, good, it's you. All right, great. Let me put this on record. The way that however I said it last time, where was that? I just want to go read that out, because I worded it really good last time. I think I may be on the Discord. I'm not gonna find it. I'm just gonna try and redo it. Okay, so. We want to adjust how set items fit into the overall gearing process for your character. That's pretty good. I think a lot of people have interpreted this to mean we're changing how set items work, or we're changing something specific about set items. Maybe, but those are not the same thing, really. And I just want to be clear that those are. I'm talking about how set items fit into the overall picture of like how they fulfill their role in the overall gearing process and what that role is. We're going to be updating that stuff. So it's less about, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, the expectation with updates to set items are coming. What does that mean? Oh, they're probably going to buff them in some way. And getting set items to a point where they are part of the processing gearing an in-game character, the obvious way to do that is to buff them. But I'm not saying that's what we're doing. Even though it sounds like I'm saying that, but I'm not saying that. Okay, so what do we need? We need void resistance. Oh yeah, right. I looked at this earlier. I should never have got into that fight. Oh, Andrew, sorry, but to answer your actual question that you asked after 1.0, that it's a set. The set stuff is not planned to come with 1.0. I don't think. We'll see. So part of the problem is it's not done yet. Like we have a plan for it. And I've seen the plan, and it's a fantastic plan. We've discussed it. We talked about it. Some things don't survive implementation, so I don't want to start talking too heavily about it. So I'm also being super vague because it could change. All right, moving on. If you guys can try not to release 1.0 too close to soon to come releases, PoE, D4, etc., all coming really soon. Yes. Yeah, PoE's recent release date shift. Not awesome for us. I do not begrudge them taking more time at all. It's something as the scrappy underdog on the playground. It's something we have to be prepared to adapt to. But yeah, it's good. We do try to avoid major releases from the more franchise titles. That's a good way to put it. Are you guys doing controller or Steam Deck support? There's already what I would call very good controller support. Not perfect. There's definitely problems with it. There's things we're working on. We're working to improve that. That's controller support is a major part of our plan for 1.0, our goals for the game. Steam Deck support is something that we are very interested in, but haven't put any time or effort into it whatsoever. We do have controller support. We do have a Linux build. It's kind of natural that it just works, right? There's some things we have to do to make it work really and play really nice. So we're not going to officially support Steam Deck at 1.0. It is something we're keeping our eye on, and something that we hope to expand into eventually. But it all comes down to how many like resources do we have, and what's the upshot from doing it type thing. So it's a really interesting form. What's it called? Platform to get onto. But it is a separate platform that we are once we add a platform, it's something that we're like, it's part of our technical debt forever. Is now we have to include this another build platform in there, and that's the main reason we cut Mac support so long ago. Was because Mac was going to become 2 platforms, and we had Linux as a platform, and we had Windows, and 4 platforms was just too much. And we're like, if we cut Mac, we go down to 2 platforms. Oh my god, that's so much better. And there was the whole processor stuff, and there's lots of stuff now that make it a lot better. But at least initially, we need fewer platforms, not more. But we are definitely looking to them in the horizon. And I also want to say that there are a lot of people that have Steam Deck working already. It is not perfect, and there's a few things you gotta tweak and change to get it working nicely. But if you talk to some people on the subreddit, you'd probably be able to get it going pretty decent. It's definitely not perfect, and it's definitely not officially supported, but it's close. It's closer than I expected with us doing literally nothing. How's Falcon going? So good. Really, really good, actually. Any plans for a traditional Hydra skill? We've toyed around with a Hydra skill a few times. It actually, so one of the front runners for like build ideas or like design structure ideas. I don't know what you want to call them, like themes, design themes. It's the wrong way to put it. There's a term for that I'm missing. But like one of the core feelings for Rune Master that we considered going with before we locked in the runes and the invocation system was it did include Hydra as the top level skill for Rune Master, which is part of the reason why you have the Hydrahedron as one of the invocations. So I'd say it's definitely not off the table by any means. I would say it's, given the density of abilities you see on this screen, I would say it is very unlikely that Mage will get any new abilities for quite a while. There's room for more from the mastery to come, from each mastery to come in the future, and we will see those eventually. But there's if you look at how densely populated this page is compared to the other classes, it's hopefully pretty obvious that the other classes are going to see new skills first. And I mean, like we're gonna continue with more masteries as well. So like, probably wouldn't fit too well, but it's possible that we could add it if like new mastery or something. Oh. Any plans for planning the plans about the plans? Absolutely. We have one of those meetings every week. I got a pretty modern-ish laptop and ran LE pretty terribly at super low res and settings i3, 13th gen, 8 GB of RAM. Desktop PC runs better on ultra settings though, so maybe laptops aren't good for LE. Possibly. Can you, like, leave me alone, Mr. Baddie Jerkface? Huh? Huh? Oh my god, I went into the boss fight without getting any Void Res again. Ugh, is there any way we can squeak out some Void Res out of any of our gear? We could try and reroll this Fire Res. Great. Perfect. We are up a creek. Is what we are? We might be able to make this better than our... Let's re-roll this. Okay. So if I'm going to do this, I got to be perfect. I'm going to put this up. Here's a cool thing! I'm going to answer questions until I come to a longer question that I can talk about while I'm playing this boss fight. So here's a cool thing, which I didn't actually press the button for it earlier. Sorry. Who knows what this is? It's a little reminiscent of some of the stuff in the game, but it's definitely different. What meta build is surprised you? Not Bugs one. What the community made and it was not planned. I mean, we rarely sit down and say, like, hey, we're going to make sure we enable this build, and we're going to make sure we enable this build, and we're going to make sure we enable this build as, like, top-tier powered builds. We do try and add support for certain things that we try and make as balanced as we can, and we say, like, okay, well, like, someone wants to take this class fantasy, let's make sure that there's stuff to make this fantasy work. Like, just that is there, not necessarily commenting on how much damage it deals. And usually, and meta builds are all about, you know, high damage output stuff. So it's a hard question to answer. I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer for you. Hi, last week you said that the Uber boss wouldn't be available for 1.0. Will it arrive for the second cycle or in an intermediate patch? When we do add an Uber boss to the game, it will arrive as a as a main patch. Like here's a patch, Uber boss in the patch as a main. It'll be like a large feature in the patch. Like that'll be a big deal. I heard bosses have some sort of dynamic damage reduction, which causes that your DPS is very low compared to other enemies. How this work? Is this going to be changed / adjusted because it seems to break power fantasy? I can talk about this one for a while, actually. Nope. Yep. Okay. So currently, boss spawns. As I deal damage to this boss, and as his health goes down, he gets a scaling DR buff. So he'll take less and less damage as I deal damage to him. Now, the amount of as time passes, that buff sort of falls off as well. So someone who is killing the boss very slowly will not be affected by that dynamic DR anywhere near as much as someone who is doing a bonkers, oh my god, what the F amount of damage. This, I think, is a really good idea conceptually. The goals behind that system are something we are very interested in continuing going forward. However, the current system is not achieving those goals in a way that we're happy with. That's a terribly aimed shot. That's okay though. And so we have a plan for a system revamp that will hopefully achieve the same goal better. Well, achieve it at all instead of failing miserably. Ooh, we get out of that one. So one of the main goals, we really like creating fun and engaging boss content. Sometimes there can be situations where a build comes together that completely trivializes the mechanics of the boss fight. Like, to the point where it may as well be a training dummy. And we're less thrilled when that becomes the goal of this of a or maybe not goal's the wrong word. When that becomes the expected, when someone's like, "Oh, is a build viable?" Well, can it one-shot this boss? Can it kill this? Can it kill the final hardest boss situation in less than 1 second? All right, it is deemed a viable build. That's not the sort of benchmark we're looking for. And like, for the most part, like a balanced build that gets to engage with the content is more what we're looking to incentivize. And currently, what happens is basically anyone who's got a like pretty decent build, and damage numbers turned on, feels like they're hitting bosses with a pool noodle. And generally I think the obvious like solution to this that gets brought up usually is, okay, we'll just make bosses health dynamic. There's a bunch of problems with that. That was close. So we can't do that. I don't want to fail. And sorry, I've gone into the tank. Where was I? Oh, it's not doing its job properly. And there's a ton of, you can see a ton of comments on forums and reviews and videos and things like that talking about how the system's not working and not doing what it should be type thing. And they are correct in that it is not. It doesn't feel good to play. It's not fun, and that's the primary goal of all of our systems, is to be fun. And that's such a hard and vague criteria, because defining fun is one of the hardest things in the world to do. Oh man, that feeling when you just want call on a build. Oh no! Hey, there's my void res. How would do a void res? Okay, I'm just so happy. That's what's going on. I'm just so happy. Whew. So yes, we are looking at a way to. This has been like the longest way to answer ever. I'm sorry. We are trying to find a way to still have a mechanic in a boss fight, in boss fights in general, that do have a similar normalizing effect on boss kill times. Less extreme than what is now, but that is one of the pieces to the whole puzzle that we are trying to do, is a slight normalizing effect on boss kill times. However, the really important part about it is not that it's normalizing boss kill times. The really important part is that it's giving something fun to interact with. And so the way that we're going to do this is going to be a system that you can interact with. Right now, the way boss DR works is there's no the way adaptive boss DR works, there's no counterplay. Like, the fastest way to kill a boss is to do the most damage as fast as you can. And what the adaptive DR does is it just reduces that speed and those numbers by an amount that is, if you know how fast you're going to kill them, actually a fixed amount. And any attempt to like slow DPS to let those numbers go back up and all that sort of stuff, yada yada yada, it doesn't work. The fastest way to kill a boss is to kill it as fast as you can, which is great, and should still be the case that you can kill a boss faster by doing more damage to it. Yes, you should be able to kill a boss faster by doing more damage to it. I know that sounds like the opposite of what I'm kind of talking about here, and it's not true. It's not the opposite. and I know I'm being super vague and not really talking about it because the system we've planned is not implemented and not tested, yada yada yada. But I mean, so I'm talking about the goals and what we want to achieve here for it, and it may not be something that we fix right away. It may be something that needs more feedback and more iterations. But I think the next version is going to give ways to like have counterplay and have more interesting decisions in how you want to approach the boss fight. And be more intuitive as well. One of the big problems with the system we have now is it's very black boxy feeling, where you don't really understand why it's happening until you go into the game guide, or the forums, or like come here and ask about it type thing. So like there's we need the system to be more obvious what's happening, and be intuitive on how to interact with that, to make it advantageous for you to be more successful than if you just held the DPS button down, possibly. And then in some situations, if you get your DPS high enough, just holding the DPS button down will still be the best way. So it's that dynamic nature of that boss fight, and having being able to improve your character's performance through strategy rather than not be able to do that is important too as well. We've got some vague plans to improve it that will hopefully not impact your power fantasy. Will hopefully enhance it, actually. I think it's gonna be sweet. Very elegant solution. Very simple. I think a regen up to a cap, so they cannot regen more than 70%, 75% of their last health, so you'll eventually kill them, but it takes longer and you'll have to dodge more of their skills instead of being impossible. Yeah. I don't think it's terrible that you can get into a situation if you overextend yourself where it's not possible to win the fight. I don't think that's terrible. I think having that be the norm is not fun and disheartening, but having that exist in the game is, I think, totally fine. I think it's good. Especially in a campaign. I think it's especially good, and that might seem kind of ridiculous, but having a hiccup that you have to maybe like go back and train for a bit and overcome, and then you can you come back and you beat it and it's great, and there's that feeling of that cycle. There's probably a term for this, I don't know what it is, but the failure, the retraining, and the success, the overcoming, the sports movie, having the built-in sports movie, because that's the storyline. Just describe the storyline of every single sports movie ever. I guess having the sports movie built into that, a small section of this campaign is actually pretty good, because I think if you don't have situations like that, it's possible for you to get into a worse situation later, where you come to a point where your character has slipped behind bit by bit constantly as you go forward, and maybe you get to a point where you're just so far behind when you get to a boss fight, that it's like you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna go and try and farm my character up and improve my character a little bit to face this boss fight, but it's like 2 weeks of farming or something. I don't know, it's an exaggeration, but I think that when you're not, you can be working towards that goal in a campaign too long and lose interest, possibly. I think there's a danger of that in some situations. Hopefully, obviously, it depends heavily on the game and where in that campaign they are, or maybe they're not in the campaign. There's so many factors that impact it. But I think in general, that type of mechanic is fine to have in most games at some point in there. I know it's a small thing, but when leveling up and changing skills in your attack bar, you still can't back out of the box when selecting it. When is this fixed? Like this? When leveling up and changing skills in your attack bar, yeah, like so in your attack bar, yeah. There's when this opens, when this window opens, there's a gigantic window that's bigger than the screen that's open behind it. That's a big button that says close this window. I know because I implemented it. Someone had a question above this. I will scroll up and find it. FXX. Hi, Paladin. Have a few things that can help team members. Will team play become something you focus more on so the players can form a good team to clear hard content, or the focus be mostly on solo play with a few team abilities just for fun? We try to give... We are expanding the number of abilities that thrive in a group setting. And there's a lot of them already that may be a little less obvious. Quite often they're nodes on other abilities. So like here, I'll give you an example in a second on Frostwall. You can apply Flame Ward. I know the name of the skill. Don't worry. You can apply Flame Ward to allies in Frostwall. Here we go. So whenever an ally walks through the Frostwall, they get Flame Ward. And so yeah, like most of the time we put these party play mechanics in skill trees as optional things, because we know that a lot of people play games like this completely solo, and if most abilities at their baseline assumed a party play situation, there'd be a lot of wasted power and a lot of abilities in their base power, and yeah. So we slip a lot of those things into the skill trees themselves. But yes, having party play mechanics like that is important and something we'll continue to add more of. I don't think we really put an emphasis on one or the other. At least we try not to. We are not planning on encouraging a Holy Trinity style gameplay, so the like tank heals DPS type like MMO structure for is not something we're planning on pushing, and we do design all content to be completable solo. I mean, it's possible that like some content could show up at some point that we accidentally make it only possible to complete it in a very niche party situation or something. I can see that happening. But generally, we do plan things to be soloable, with like high quality builds and stuff like that. But probably a little easier with a. I think that here's the line. A well organized, synergistic group of players will typically outperform a solo player in most situations, and a disorganized group will be outperformed by a solo player in most situations. So it's like if you really plan out your party really well together, and you're like, okay, well, this ability's like this guy's giving me this buff that's really good for me because I'm doing that type of damage, and I'm giving this other guy this other buff that's really good for him because he's doing that type of damage, and like we're like, okay, he's giving us all haste, he's giving us all like a bunch of armor, and like like we're working together to like really have this like core synergistic build in a group. Like that's gonna work better than a solo player that's got their own build together in most situations. But you'll still, but if it's just like, all right, we're gonna have 5 people jump in together and just ignore what everyone else is doing, or in some situations actively like oh, this person's cleansing debuffs off that other person as an attack, so it's gonna cause the first one who wanted those debuffs to be on there to trigger some ability to do less damage. Like we try to avoid situations like that, but I'm sure some of them exist. Oh, sure, armor, do we know what that? Health and damage, we can probably survive that earlier. Do you guys plan on doing ads for LE on social media closer to release? We do ads on social media. It's not an extreme reach, but you know we throw some out there. I think we're still experimenting with what has the best rate of return between social media and other. I don't know, I'm not a marketer. I'm sorry. Other types of advertising. But yeah, like we are, especially leading up to 1.0, we're spinning that marketing engine up. And because this is the point that we're really like ready to shout from the rooftops, like, hey, we're here, this game's awesome, come play it. And having that marketing start now is really good for us. So we've been intentionally a little, and we also have a limited marketing budget, so like we've been strategic with how we spent our marketing budget, and I assume it's ramping up as we get closer to 1.0. As someone who knows nothing about what we do for marketing other than what I see, because I've seen a couple ads for Last Epoch. It was kind of funny. I'm like, well, that was a wasted ad. Whoops. I hope LE doesn't get a gun amendment. I mean, so we have no plans or designs towards guns in the game. I use that as sort of a generic example, and it's but at the same time it's not something that we are completely ruling out long term. So it is possible that we might add guns at some point long term. We have no plans for it. There's no designs for it, but we just don't want to be like, never! You know? That's all. Oh, get that outline fixed. What's going on? Guarantee I know what log there is if I open the log right now. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of null refs. Texture's not assigned properly. Ugh. Ugh. Give me that ascendance. I said, give me that ascendance. I wish LE monoliths had crafting mechanics like items, so we'd have super rare LE potential monoliths with some rare mods to make the area super interesting, difficult, but rewarding. Crafting can expand monoliths so much if added. Yeah, so this is PoE maps, is what we're talking about here. And we talked a lot, like, so you may notice that dungeon keys don't stack. We had originally talked about having dungeon keys work the same as how maps work, where there's like a magic map and you can like, you know, different types of maps that you can craft on and change the things on them. You can add stuff to them, take stuff off them, yada yada yada. And I think an endgame mechanic, whether that is dungeons, unlikely at this point, or an optional monolith mode, or a completely different like type of thing entirely. I don't know. Like one option I saw, I think this was a community post. Oh, I don't remember where I saw it. It was like these items that could drop that would be craftable, basically like maps. But yeah, so they're craftable items that can drop that have specific risks and rewards on specific mods. Basically the specific echoes that drop as items that you can craft on, that you could use in the monolith map screen to replace an echo that's there. So like, say there's an echo that like you're like, oh, that one's way too hard for me. You have this item, you use the item, it changes that echo into something else. So it's like a different, maybe your build has 100% crit avoidance, and so you pick one that gives enemies a ton of crit chance, and so it doesn't hurt your build at all, and you just get an easy one, and it lets you advance better because you use this item. So that was my favorite. I can't remember that was. I'm pretty sure that was a Reddit post. May have been Discord. But I really like that one. Just hopefully because that was clear, but if not, making sure It's not something we've designed or talked about. It's not something that's in the works, but that type of thing is stuff we have discussed, and we will be looking to expand our endgame systems, and that's a great way to do it. That was a repeat question, which is fine because there's no ping in the reping, which is great. Thank you very much. All right, I think it was mentioned that corruption, rework, rebalance was going to make it into 1.0. I know the goal is to shift more of the power to the actual corruption and not to the echo, not the echo modifiers. But could you share any more details? Maybe. No, I'm sorry, I can't. There's not a lot to it, but that's you basically got it. That's basically what's gonna happen. We're gonna shift a bunch of the power to corruption from the modifiers themselves, and that's basically it. Alright. Random stuff in echoes like exiled mages are great. Yes, absolutely. Will there be more added on the release, or will that sort of thing come with cycles? I don't think any more of those are coming at 1.0. I think that's the... I'm pretty sure 1.0 doesn't include any more of these. I'm trying to I can't think of any. But we will definitely be looking to add more of those, like a little bit longer, like through the cycles as we go. That is the type of thing that we are very much interested in adding. Oh, hey, 2 volatile zombies, someone a potion use. I know what item I just picked up. Sweet. They're fire zombies. Is it? Are volatiles? Oh yeah, they're fire by default. I was playing poison recently, and like I have it in my brain that they're just poison. Probably not the best one for us. So we're gonna. I didn't even look what else is on there. Minion health notes. Actually, not a bad belt. Yeah, we will be adding more stuff like that in cycles, though. Is the offline mode still set to be truly 100% offline at 1.0 as previously announced back in March? Yes. I know a ton of work's been being done on this, and I know it's either working or very close to working, and I'm pretty sure it's scoped for 1.0. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, let's go with yes. Final answer, Alex. All right. Oh my god, not Alex. Sorry, that was bad. All right, what's the headcount working at LE now? After launch, is that inevitable boost in funding going to lead to more hands on deck? I do not know the exact number. I think we're in the like high 80s to low 90s range. Like we're talking absolutely everyone that has that's working on the project in a, including like contractors and all that sort of stuff. Like yeah, I think it's in that range. I'm sorry, I don't know the number. I get asked this one pretty frequently, and I should know the number, and I just don't. I'm sorry. But yeah, we're pretty constantly hiring people. There's a careers page up. What's up there right now? Yeah, UI and gameplay developer. Come work with me. That's basic. That position is basically take a third of Mike's responsibilities away from Mike. It's basically what that job is. Yeah, so come take a third of my responsibilities. All right. I literally can't stop playing this game. Well, that's dangerous. I mean, like, if you're actually stuck, like, just I don't know, start blinking in Morse code or something. Someone will find you. Um, any advice that take a break and touch grass? I was joking originally, but yeah, I mean, I think having having like a fixed timer. So there's like a fixed like set, like before you sit down, set a fixed amount of time that you want to play for. And I know you can't always like end immediately afterwards, but like set some sort of condition. Be like, okay, well I'm gonna spend 2 hours doing echoes, and as soon as that alarm goes off, I'll finish the echo I'm on, and then immediately quit. No lollygagging, no just one more. And a lot of it's just discipline. I mean, if you you can set up like disciplinary aids. Oh, that's a bad way to put it. Sounds like a sex thing. You can put up like things in place that will force you to comply with your schedule, but you could overcome if you really wanted to. So like, you could put like a lock screen that shows up when the time finishes or something. I don't know. And like, you know the password to it, but you have to like you have to beat a chess puzzle to get back in, and it gives you time to think like, do I really want to circumnavigate the restriction I put in place on myself, just so there's like a little bit of delay there. This could be something as weird as like, if you're really struggling with something like this, you can do something weird like install the game on a easily removable drive from your computer, and when like the time's up and you've used up all your time for the day, you can like take that drive and like go put it in like a locked box that has like a combination on it or something, and like it's that extra step of like going to get the drive out of the locked box and unlock it and plug it into your computer so that it can play it again. And like that little bit of extra time can sometimes let you get a little perspective on if you're really trying hard to not do this. The other thing that I find really good when trying to develop or break habits is keeping records of things. So having a way to like track how much you're playing, and say like, okay, maybe so write down, so you finish playing for the day, and you're like, okay, I played 3 hours today or something, and then you can like really see over time how much you're playing, and if that's like going up or going down, you can track your progress, and you can, like, okay, I'm really trying to get my game time down to 2 hours a day from 3 hours a day, and you can like see it going down slowly, and when you get there, it feels more like an achievement rather than just like something happened. I hope that helps. Also, super duper not an expert on this sort of thing. These are just sort of things that I do. And if you're really looking for help and advice on this, I'm sure there's better resources, and I do not know what those are. I'm sorry. Alright, next question. Please make a new pinnacle bosses that have a race for first kill, not be practicable on standard like it is on PoE. I want to see hardcore players enter blind in the arena and get one-shotted. That is part of the fun watching them. Yeah, it's a really tricky balancing act, because there's lots of, my goodness, I am not surviving this. Oh no. Okay, you can do this, Mike. Oh my god, I'm over time. I just burned right through. Oh, I'm probably so far behind. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna answer this question. I'm gonna almost for sure die in this arena, which is fine. And I'm gonna just speed run some questions at the end of this for like 15 minutes. And if I don't get to yours, I apologize. Okay, let's try and answer some more of this. Oh yeah, pinnacle bosses and stuff. Yeah, so there's there's tricky stuff with that, because especially because we're also doing an offline mode. It makes this like blind first online playthrough tough, because there's like ways to figure out what's going on and test things, even if it's like just simultaneously with launch. It's tough. So we'll see what happens. I agree with the sentiment you've got there, and it is something we are mindful of. So we'll do our best. But we're not going to sacrifice offline mode to make it happen, type thing. Like, we won't just like cut a mode if it's causing problems with that. Okay, next question. So the game content from Cycle will stay after it ends? Yes. Was wondering how much further along dual shields are from last Friday. 0%. Who is the community manager of LE? Kane, who is here in chat, is the community manager and does a fantastic job. Oh my goodness. Oh my. That was lovely. Okay. We are going to sit here with... God, ice brush, nice. With boring stuff on screen. I don't know what will be on screen. We'll just... I don't know. Let's find some stuff to talk about. I'm going to answer some questions. I know what I'll do. I'll put this back up. But I'm gonna move it. There we go. Okay, we're gonna try and answer as many of these as possible. I'm over time, but I really want to get through these, and I'm gonna be quick on the answers. Not gonna do long, rambly ones. Sorry. Right. Yeah, Kane is the manager. I'll pass the feedback on to him. How about I highlight the best questions or reveals modes from the stream on the forums? Aaron Action RPG does a recap of every single one of these streams, and Andrew Tilley has a ton of compiled info on our forums as well. A few questions. One, thoughts on adding a rarity to the stash tab search? Love it. Will a similar mindset in how Rune Master was made into Warlock and Falconer, since playing Rune Master feels like there is great room for build variety and experimentation? Yes, we put the same sort of philosophy. Our philosophy for generating new classes hasn't changed much in the last like 3 years, really. We don't add that many new classes. The Druid revamp was almost like adding a new class, and Shaman's going to be pretty big too, I think. And but yes, it's the way we approach adding Warlock and Falconer was the exact same way we approached adding Rune Master. Neither of them will be as complex as Rune Masters. Rune Master is our most complex class and will remain that way. There's a ton of fun things to do there. I'm really excited to show off that stuff. All right, with regards to controller support, can you please allow us to rebind more buttons? Maybe there's some tricks there. And there's a few gotchas that we've had to work around. Don't buff the set items overall. Set items are a bad mechanic for the end game. It creates limited choices and takes away the puzzle feels. In my opinion, it's better to concentrate on adding more legendary items. Uniques, I think, is what's meant, and slowly get rid of set items or exchange them for a new type of loot, something refreshing like experimental items. They are very cool. Interesting take. I'm sorry, no comment. What type of extra end game activities will be offered on full release of the game? There's not a lot of new, like, full-on activities. Interaction with the item factions will be the biggest source of new activities at 1.0. Set items. We're not actually removing set items, just to be clear. Any updates on WASD movement? It's still not planned. Can you play this without following a build guide? Absolutely. Most of the time when I see people go to Reddit or something and they're like, I'm a new player, any advice? The first 20 comments are just go play it, have fun, and then come look at a guide once you've got your first character through endgame. That's like the top answer every single time from the community, and I agree. Are we never going to get and like even there's like Perry the Pig makes great videos for Last Epoch, and he's got like a beginner, like a noob guide video type thing. It's like, this is a beginner guide. The video starts out with, you don't need this guide. It's like how the video starts. That was great. All right, are we never going to get commas in the damage numbers? Yes. No. We're not never going to get commas in the damage numbers. Any plans to change the end of Echo reward pop-up menu? I've had so many times of it covering the screen and not seeing something on the floor. Mobs. All of those mobs are supposed to be killed by the boss and the boss dies. There's some like weird race conditions that cause it to be possible to happen. That window does need to be either movable or minimizable. Probably minimizable is likely the option that we'll see. That job position I was mentioning, that would be their job to do. Do you have plans to have other end of game leaderboards? Yes, like corruption level and such instead of just arena. Absolutely. What those will be, I don't know, but yes, we do have. There's a few things we've considered. We've also considered having like cycle specific leaderboards, like, oh, this cycle there's like this special leaderboard that's cool, and if people don't care about it, we just ditch it. If they like it, maybe we keep it. You know, we considered stuff like that too. Any update on the blessing changes that were talked about in the Maxwell interview, being able to more easily switch between previously unlocked blessings? Nothing's implemented, but we still plan to. It's essentially like, it's not finished yet, but essentially this, instead of this just being something you can just click on and just pick the ones that you've done, and these, instead of just saying the ranges, will actually have specific values as the highest value you've ever rolled on that thing. Because spoiler alert, these are technically items. These are actually items that you have in a special storage. These are as much of an item as these, and like the special storage there. And this is literally the exact same system, just displayed slightly differently. The real question is, oh my gosh, you can't see what I was just looking at. I'm sorry, I just realized the picture's up on the screen. It's okay, we're gonna keep going. Charging ahead. The real question is, when we're getting lightsabers. I mean, there's already kind of one in the game, a little bit-ish, sort of, not really. Thanks for the answers. I do like the support skills are nodes. It's always a fun boost to your friends with crit or heal or something. But still doing your build. Yeah, there's lots of things like haste in when you rogue has a bunch of haste generation stuff for the party, so you can like one of my favorite things to do is play a rogue in a big party and just take all the things that give everyone else haste, and you're just like constantly dropping like little haste bombs for everyone all over the place, and it's just like everyone just goes so fast. It's great. Will you be playing what? Will you be playing Megan Fox to be on a LE for you? Sorry, I don't know what that means. What are you most proud of in LE as you get closer to release? That's a really tough question to answer. I don't know. The things that immediately come to mind is the skill system and all our skill trees. I think part of that's because this is a lot of what I work on with a lot of other extremely talented people, and just the way that this system, and this system is the reason I got into the game. Like the reason I started working here. It's what I spend more time on than anything else. Like, so it's really close to me. I think it's something that is it's one of our things that like make us unique. And I think we execute it really well. So I think the skill system in general. A couple more questions. I'm gonna end this pretty soon. Playing the intern. I hope someday Ellie gets a crossover with PoE for a skin for each game. That would be themed for the others, so that we can play as the mage in place of the Templar. That would be really cool. I think it would be awesome. I have no idea if that will ever happen. Got to meet a bunch of them at Gamescom in Germany recently. So awesome. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I have no idea if it could ever happen. But I'd love to. That'd be sweet. That'd be really cool. All right. Can you please tell Aaron to get a Steam Deck? He'll see this, so you just did. I love the Shadow Valley soundtrack. It's so haunting yet terrifying and sad. Some areas just have iconic music, like the Traveler at the end of time. Yeah. Would it be easier to have a currency or material in the game to just change an echo map, be utilizing the currency material, adding a whole new crafting function for echo maps seems more cumbersome as a player. Probably for you all as well, in my tiny brain at least. Possibly. It's a good point. You've perfectly highlighted the fact that I have not thought about this in depth very much. But yeah, that's definitely an option too. I don't see any major problems with that really. Yeah. Do you know which element has the highest damage cap for the Sork? Well, no, sorry. Technically none of them have a damage cap. Yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of people using the Fire and Ice Rune Master builds, but I play as only Lightning build. I just blow things up with it. Yeah, there's several very powerful Lightning builds. This game work on Steam Deck yet? It can. If you haven't got it to work, there are people on Reddit that I've seen with like information on how to get it to work. I would search the subreddit for Steam Deck, and I bet there'll be a bunch of posts that'll come up for you. If not, just be like, someone help me with this, and someone I'm sure will help you with it. I'm sorry, I can't help you with it, because I have no idea what it needs. And that's it! We made it! Alright. Fantastic work, everyone. Thanks for sticking with me. I had a ton of fun. I hope you did too. If I didn't answer your question and you would like to ask it still, please head on over to our Discord. There is a Ask the Devs channel, freshly revamped Discord actually, with lots of new stuff that's awesome. Here we go. Let's head on over to someone who I was talking about earlier. Yeah, I'll be here same time, same place next week. Playing more builds. Next week we're actually I'm going to be playing the winner of the build competition that's being run. I think Perry might be one of the captains for it as well. If not, he'll definitely know who it is. Check it out. Have fun. See you later.